At 6:01, I call this meeting of the Saginaw City Council to order. Please rise for the pledges. I pledge allegiance. Honor the Texas flag. Please be seated. Item number 2 is the invocation. For that, we have Doug Crossway, First Baptist Church. Welcome, sir.
Join me in prayer. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to gather together. And Father, we just ask that you would be with us this evening, that you would grant wisdom to those that have served, that are choosing to serve Saginaw. And we just ask that you would help them to make wise decisions that they would benefit all of Saginaw, Father. And that you would just give us a good meeting. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Item number 3 is audience participation. If there is an item you wish to speak about, please see the city secretary and fill out a form. Unless it is a public hearing, which we have a couple of those, then I will call for speakers, and you don't have to set up a form and speak when we get to that point. Before we go to audience participation, audience participation. I think Valerie has one small announcement she wants to make.
So, a lot of people don't know who Texas Municipal League is, but they're a big organization that we are part of. And they asked Keith Reinhardt to write a story about our new economic development coming in, the Saginaw Station. And so I'm going to throw it to Keith, but I think it's a very awesome thing that we had written up. And I think that everybody should know about it. And so Keith, if you want to tell them just a little bit.
Sure. Sorry, I'm juggling things. Yeah, we were asked by the Texas Municipal League to write an article. They'd heard a story about a development that we have with our fire station and what was our senior center, that property, and how it was under the direction of the mayor and city council for staff to develop that into a property for a restaurant or a destination type restaurant and or entertainment venue, and they'd heard about that and they'd asked us to write a letter. So I asked we work with the retail coach, they're a retail recruitment, and they set up our first meeting at a conference that he and I were both at with the CEO of the company, or a company, and that's what started things rolling, and the direction of council was for us to have one sit-down restaurant or an entertainment venue, and what we're actually getting and what you voted for in late, I think, 2022 is 3 sit-down restaurants and an entertainment venue. So they asked us to write an article. It came out in their May magazine, Texas Town and City, and kind of a neat thing is they asked us to write another article about our building improvement grant program, which has won several awards, and that's going to come out in the June Texas Town and City. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you, Valerie. All right, item 4 is the consent agenda. I heard a request to pull item A, so we will entertain B, action regarding resolution 2023-11 City of Saginaw application for Texas Department of Transportation for the transit alternatives. And C, action regarding ordinance 2023-18 authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed abandoning 8-foot utility easement to Richard Lithcorn. And I will entertain a motion for B and C.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve action items A and C, please.
B?
A.
B. We're pulling A.
Oh, we're pulling A, excuse me, B and C.
Yeah. Second. Please cast your votes.
Wrong circle, the wrong one.
Motion passes. Thank you all. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum this evening, a full house. Thank you for attending, folks. Item A, action regarding a Chapter 380 Economic Development Incentive Agreement with Blazing Hospitality. For that, Keith Reinhardt, Director of Community and Economic Development.
Hello again. Thank you, Mayor and Council. In a way, I'm kind of glad you pulled this just so I could explain you've actually already voted for this back in, I think it was October or just November, December time frame for the 380 agreement. The reason that I wanted to bring this back to you is because at the time when it was voted for, there was not a 380 agreement drawn up at the time. So what you were voting for, you hadn't actually seen the document itself. And we've got the document presented to you in your packet today, and it's the other item was at the time the potential purchaser of that property. We thought they were going to purchase it back in January, and for reasons as purchasing of business properties, they're not an overnight thing, and they take time, and this did. They actually purchased the property about a week or two ago, so that they officially own the property now. We also have the 380 agreement that you actually voted for it, however many months ago, 6 months ago, but I wanted you to actually see the document that you voted for, and that's all. There's no change to it from when you voted the last time.
Council questions? Mary, do you have a question?
The reason I wanted this pulled is I'm for the agreement, of course, but when I was reading the actual development agreement, there was some parts of it in Section 8 that I had never seen before that were curious to me, and I spoke to Brent about it, and I wanted him to kind of explain it. It has to do with certain companies that you cannot boycott and certain countries that you must not do business with and certain types of manufacturers. And I thought that was something I hadn't seen before, and I was wondering to get a little bit more information about it.
Right, so yes, we discussed this briefly before the council meeting. Happy to do that. These are form-driven clauses mandated by the legislature. This contract doesn't necessarily require them to be included. So the prohibition against doing business with an entity that has relations with Iran, Sudan, or foreign terrorist organizations applies, notwithstanding the contract amount, but it doesn't have to be in the agreement. You just have to ensure that they're not doing business with those companies. The others, the anti-boycott Israel clause, the fossil fuel boycott verification, and firearms discrimination verification. Essentially, you can't do business with a company that boycotts firearms, for instance. Those are all triggered if the contract value is $100,000 or more. But that's the background on that. The legislature in recent sessions has decided that those are important things for the state to include. I will say my understanding is there is a pending First Amendment federal lawsuit challenging the enforceability of these clauses, because it obviously, regardless of your position on the matter, and I'm not taking a position, but it obviously implicates a company's ability to exercise their free speech and either boycott Israel or not, for instance. And so whether or not those are determined to be unconstitutional remains to be seen, but for the time being, we put them in there just to be thorough.
I just thought it was interesting for people to understand, what the background was on that and why that was in there. Thank you.
Any other questions about this item, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the Chapter 380 Economic Development Incentive Agreement with Blazing Hospitality.
I second.
Valerie, second. Please cast your votes. We can't see anything yet, Keith. There you go.
Oh, we all voted yes.
Is that it? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, guys. All right, item number 5, recognition of members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. For that, Salvador Gonzalez. Welcome, Salvador.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So, in recognition of the MIAC's hard work, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, we wanted to celebrate their hard work by giving them a certificate of appreciation, of course, as well as a recommendation letter signed by the Mayor. And so today I have the MIAC participants here today after presenting to the council on their recommendations. So MIAC participants, please come to the podium as I call your name, and we'll take a picture afterwards. So first up, Grace Sears. Here you go. Mia Magali. Yeah.
Yeah, stand up here so they can take your picture.
Xavier Milton. Ioana Kigaga. Okay. Not everyone was able to make it, but we still appreciate their hard work. Sparsa. Shreya. Thank you. Holy. Dakota. Cameron. Gabriel. Not here today. Okay. Shrijan. Michael. Wyatt. Actually, I think we've named everybody that's here, so we'll just move on. But once again, we want to thank them and really, we appreciate their hard work. You guys did an excellent job this year, so thank you for everything. And Mayor, if you want to come around and we'll take a picture.
You want to take a picture with the whole council? Yeah, that's how we're going to do it. How about this council stand behind them? Okay. Yeah. See everybody?
Yeah, I can scoot down. Can you see Salvador and everybody?
Now I can see Salvador. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oh, Mary, can you move a little bit this way? All right. And cheese. Okay, thank you.
So y'all don't have to stay, so. And we thank the Boswell principal for attending as well. Always good to see you, Nika. I mean, they could stay if they want to, but I guess they don't. Item number 6, consideration action regarding resolution 2023-12, canvassing returns and declaring results of the general election. Janice England, City Secretary.
Hey, as you all know, we had our general election on May the 6th, and so tonight we'll be canvassing that election. Resolution 2023-12 covers the returns and declares the results of the general election. On that election, we had 2 council places, Council Place 4 and Council Place 6. The results were as follow. For Council Place 4, Brack St. Clair received 379 votes. Randy Edwards, 462 votes. Councilmember Place 6, Mary Copeland received 442 votes, and Rick Russell received 428 votes. So the resolution 2023-12 reflects those results and declares the results officially.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the consideration and action regarding resolution 2023-12, canvassing returns and declaring results.
City Secretary, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you all. Item number 7, consideration action regarding resolution 2023-13, canvassing returns and declaring results of a special election held on May 6th to determine whether the city of Saginaw voters are to continue a sales and use tax for street maintenance in the city. Janice England, City Secretary.
Okay, also on May 6th, we held a special election to see if voters wanted to continue the sales and use tax for street maintenance in the city. The results of those are canvassed in resolution 2023-13. In that proposition, the number of votes for were 735. The number of votes against were 169. So that proposition did pass, and the resolution canvasses and declares that it passed.
Thank you, Janice. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the resolution number 2023-13 canvassing returns and declaring results for the taxes. Okay.
A second? Mary, a second? Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Thank you, Janice. Item number 8. Well, I can't believe it's come to this, buddy, but we're going to say goodbye to Councilmember Charlie Tucker. After 5 long, spectacular years on council and many previous years on Parks and Rec, I think from the Parks Board from 2009, when you started, so that's 14 years of city service. That's a good deal, buddy. So we're sad to see Charlie go. We do wish him best. Before I've got a little presentation for him, but I want to hear from other council members what you got to say, good or bad, about Charlie.
Well, we'll miss you, Charlie, and thank you for your service, and we appreciate everything you've done.
Mayor, I make a motion that we deny his leaving. No, Charlie, we really do appreciate everything that you've done. You will be missed. I'll especially miss the candy that you kind of slide over during the meetings. Oh, you got more? Okay. Oh, yeah. I just can't even begin to imagine what it's going to be like without you sitting my right-hand man.
We'll have Randy over here.
Yeah, but I have to train him.
Well, we are going to miss you, Charlie. You can just leave a bag of candy on the counter, okay? So that way we have it. But I'll still see you at church, and you'll still be around tag. Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, so Charlie, I only got to work with you 2 years on council, but it's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed getting here early, having a cup of coffee with you, and discussing the issues at hand. You bring a very interesting point, and it's been very enjoyable.
Charlie, I only got to work with you for 1 year, but it's been great, and hope to see you around doing your thing. I know you do a lot with Community Link and everything, and hope you well.
Well, Charlie is an active volunteer in our city. He's been a huge contributor. I've worked with Charlie the whole time he's been here. He's a great guy. He's very wise, brings a great sense of humor, also a lot of grace and humility, and sets a great example for all of us. We will miss you, buddy, and you're a heck of a guy. You're a good man. You've left a high bar for the city to follow. So on that note, I do have a couple of little parting gifts for you. Charlie, since it's 5 years, has actually earned his pin. Suitable for framing pin, so timed on for service to the city of Saginaw. So get that. So at the top. And another parting gift. A nice crystal glass that says, and I'll read it. The city of Saginaw presented to Charlie Tucker in appreciation and recognition of his service, Advisory Recreation and Parks Board member from September 2009 to June 2018. Councilmember placed 4 from June 2018 to May 2023. So, Charlie, congratulations, buddy. Well done. I want you to break this. You got any parting words, buddy?
No, not really. Other than I was gonna say a little something to Randy, but, we're gonna have to be in here. I'll tell him at church.
There you go.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. It's been a learning experience. But glad I did it. Thanks all.
We'll miss you.
You send a check to the house.
Well, just stand back up, Todd, because guess what? You have a pin, but you get 3 diamonds in yours because you've been here for 15 years. And we appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Al.
I'll give this back to Janice.
I had no idea it was 15 years till Janice reminded me, so it's always Janice on top of things a lot better than I am.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we have item number 10, is oath of office of council member place 6. Janice England.
Okay, Mayor Flippo will get recently re-elected Mary Copeland to meet me down front, and we'll swear her in for her next term of office. I'll mention also at the same time, in Charlie's place, Randy Edwards was elected, but before being elected, he already had a trip planned out of town, so we will swear him in at the next meeting. That's why he's not here tonight.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I,
State your name.
Mary Copeland,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Councilmember Place 6
of Council Member Place 6
of the City of Saginaw
of the City of Saginaw
of the State of Texas
of the State of Texas
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
and
laws of the United States
laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the City of Saginaw,
of the City of Saginaw.
so help me God.
So help me God.
That's your official.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mary. Welcome back.
She said no.
Item number 11, election of mayor pro tem. I thought about this today. We have 2 options. We do not have a full seated council right now, since Randy is not here. We can either, and this is council's preference, we can vote tonight on the mayor pro tem, or we can wait till next time we have a full seated council. What is the council's pleasure? What would y'all like?
I think we should wait and vote
Let
when
Randy
full
do it.
city
Wait.
council.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to table this for the next, till the next meeting.
Mayor, I make a motion, we table election of Mayor Pro Tem till the next meeting when Randy can be available.
Okay,
I'll second that.
any second? Please cast your vote. Motion passes. Thank you, guys. Item number 12, I have 6:24. We're in a public hearing. Consideration action regarding recommendations from Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the request to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Saginaw regarding a change in zoning from community commercial to heavy industrial on approximately 12.8 acres of land out of the Bertie John survey, from Terminal Road. Who is doing this? Salvador?
Mr. Mayor, once again, thank you, council. Just to give you a little bit of a background before I introduce Mr. Britton here. Mr. Britton approached the city to ask that we change the zoning at the property located at 2301 Terminal Road. This property is kind of hard to spot on our map. It's actually towards the southern part of the city. If you look there now, there's some grain silos, and it's really mostly industrial use. We actually took this to the DRC to get a recommendation on what the best approach would be, and after careful consideration, we deemed it that it would be an appropriate zoning change. Not only does it meet the surrounding area, but it would be a beneficial zoning change to the city, and I will let Mr. Britton answer any questions.
Thank you, Salvador. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for your time tonight. Any questions on the proposed? We own the building next door, and so we're hoping.
You introduce yourself just officially?
I'm
please?
sorry, Britton New, Fort Worth, Texas, GT Industrial Properties.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions? We own the building next door. It's Fort Worth. The other side is Fort Worth. It's just a little piece of Saginaw that runs down the railroad track and just kind of hangs out there. The actual water line's Fort Worth, so it's kind of a weird one. But somehow 20 years ago, it got zoned community commercial for a grocery store or retail, and it's all industrial all around it. So we're just asking for the change.
Council questions for Mr. New?
Do you plan on putting anything on that property?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we hope we're going to lease it out to somebody who's either going to use the rail for some kind of rail business or a construction yard, you know, something like that, just an industrial type use. That I've gone over with Larry and Salvador on what's allowed, what's not allowed, but yes, ma'am. That's the hope.
Do you have somebody in mind to do that in the near future?
I mean, we're a real estate company, and so
Okay.
we're doing it to market it. Yes, ma'am. That's our hope. I'm showing it tomorrow to somebody. I don't know if nothing's done yet, but sure hoping so.
Other questions, council?
I have one.
Sure, go ahead.
What does this do for our property taxes? How does this benefit us, this change?
So I don't think the assessed value would change. I do think it makes sense to rezone to the heavy industrial. It's rail served, it's off the spur. To use the planning term, it's the highest and best use. So I wouldn't anticipate any impact unless, hopefully Mr. New gets a tenant. They may make improvements and bring it back to productive use.
And that would bring business personal property to the city, whatever they're storing or do there. As well as, it's been a real bad deal for vagrants, so you get a tenant in there and then that kind of stuff, people go away. So somebody's there active and put lights up and that kind of stuff, so it makes it safer for the whole neighborhood.
Other questions, council? I think a good thing to point out is it does have a rail service and a rail connection. That's one of the big selling points for heavy industrial.
Yes,
It
sir.
makes a lot of sense as opposed to commercial, community commercial, whatever. So
It does.
Other questions, council? I do have this is just a note we got. It is from Suzanne Boyce, president of Atterbury Grain. Everybody knows where Atterbury Grain is, and they are in favor. So that's just, I guess she sent this in to us. So I think that she got the note as a local landowner and sent a note in, said yes, they're in favor. So there's another piece of data for it. Any other questions for Mr. New? All right, thank you, sir. This is a public hearing, so anyone in the audience can speak. I will open the forum right now. Please come up and speak and ask questions about this issue. Have any questions or concerns? If not, at 6:29, take us out of a public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve to change in zoning to heavy commercial, to heavy industrial from commercial, community commercial, as presented.
Do I have a second? All seconds. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Congratulations, sir. Good luck. Item number 13, at 6:29, we're back in public hearing. Consideration action regarding recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission regarding amending Appendix A, zoning, Article 8, supplemental district regulations, Section 8-9, off-street parking and loading requirements. For that, Larry Little, Chief Building Official.
Mr. Mayor, council. As you remember here a while back, I brought the off-street parking in front of you. So tonight, we're bringing it back, hopefully for approval, or at least our recommendations for it. Forward, backwards. Kind of like me. So staff has done all this consideration. I've researched this thoroughly for the other cities. We took it to P&Z. P&Z recommendation unanimously on this. We can go through this again. I know there were some questions last time. You definitely wanted some definition to approved surfaces, which we have provided. You want to bet?
There
we go. So the on-street parking required, all required commercial residential parking spaces shall be located on the premises to which such requirement applies or within an off-street space which the distance is not within 3. That is the portion we have scratched out. The reason same as last time, we want them to provide parking on site. That is our main goal, especially for the developments we have coming. Residential parking development standards, the following regulations shall apply to all residentially zoned districts and apply to any required front, rear, battery slope? side being used to park or store vehicles, including boats and trailers. All new improvements on any rear or side yard must meet the requirements of section 9-3. Just want to be clear, that is in regards to drainage and the 5-foot side yard requirement for that we have.
So on that drainage, asked a little bit about, because I went and read it, and
Yes, sir.
it's pretty vague. It's really vague. So when you go out, if I go to apply for a permit to get this done,
Yes, sir.
exactly what do you all apply here? I mean,
As far as the drainage,
far as the drainage.
they would, are we talking about for drive approach?
For exactly, you're going out here for what this is doing, and they're going to look at
Okay,
it. What do
so
you-
they would submit a set of drawings to us, set of plans for a driveway or whatever it is that's going
Yeah.
to encroach in that side yard for drainage.
Right.
We would look at that, we would take it to DRC. When we usually have our meetings, we discuss things like that if necessary. We'll look at it, we'll make sure that it's not going to impede or any obstruction in that, and that's what we'll base our findings on.
And how do you determine whether it's going to impede? Do you use the international standard for drainage? That's what I'm getting at.
So Kimberly Horn, Misty with Kimberly Horn is obviously at our DRC meetings.
Okay.
She's very knowledgeable with that. That's what we use her for.
Okay.
She is a PE, so I believe she's well qualified to make those decisions, and that's
Okay.
what we base that on.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously if they if they put the concrete there, in my opinion, if they put it down at ground level, it's not obviously sticking up, then it's definitely not impeding that flow.
Okay.
We've got some, we did one, I think you were one of the first ones that ever did something in a side yard, but I believe that we have one last year that poured a curb all the way on their property line, which Misty looked at that one. That was something she agreed it works. It kept their water on their property, didn't impede onto their neighbors. Seemed to suffice, and I mean, we had no complaints about that.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we require a certain fall per foot?
Again, I'm not an engineer.
A certain slope, you're saying?
That's
fall per
right.
foot? Yes,
Yeah.
there's a minimum slope for concrete. It's usually 0.5%.
Yeah.
And then other things we look at, if the area is large enough, we'll see if the runoff calculations have increased, and usually if that's the case, they'll make them not have any downstream impacts. For this situation, it seems like that area would be small enough to where that's not a big deal. But if there were a ditch or something running through, obviously you can't impede that. And then like Larry said, if you're redirecting runoff, that's usually not allowed. So there's criteria for minimum slope and stuff like that, but a lot of it's more common sense, just making sure you're not messing up the drainage patterns.
Yeah. Okay. I just don't want our citizens to fall into a hole here. You know what I'm saying? A bureaucratic hole.
Oh,
of
absolutely.
Not
I mean,
understanding exactly what they're getting themselves in. It's very clear as to exactly what they need to do so that they don't go do one thing, think they're meeting the city's requirements, and end up having to spend extra money to go back and backtrack.
That's part of the permit
That's it.
process, is
Yeah,
in any
right.
of the permits. That's our job, is to explain that and to make sure they have everything they need.
Cool, appreciate it.
Yep.
Other questions for Larry?
Continue on. See, residential park development standards, all new improvements, okay, on the rear requirements section, we discussed that. Sorry, my eyes are giving me trouble tonight. All vehicles which are parked or stored on private property in residential areas are to be on approved surface. This is one of those that you wanted, a definition of approved surface. So we have added that. The 4 inches of reinforced Portland cement concrete on compacted subgrade, not less than 2 inches of hot mixed asphalt over at least 6 inches of approved subgrade material. The pavers that we discussed, I have looked at multiple cities about pavers. I would agree that cities vary in what their requirements are for the off-street parking requirements. My experience here, 21 years in code enforcement dealing with pavers, I'm glad to say that we don't have a lot of them left. They have been a code enforcement nightmare for us. We're already seeing great results with the approved surfaces being done. So again, that is our recommendation.
like I said, I did give this a hard look because, you know, pavers is one thing. And then I went back and I looked at what the standard is for actually what size of paver really needs to be used. I looked at what it would cost to put a substrate down, you know, bring it down, put a substrate down, install it, make sure your drainage is right. And when I did all the math and all the numbers and you're using the pavers that you should be used, it become really close to what it would cost to come in and do concrete. Because in order to put the pavers in the way they're supposed to be put in is the exact same as putting concrete in. The only difference is the cost per yard of the concrete. And if you go buy the pavers at Home Depot, the little thin ones, they're going to break. I did drive around older part of Saginaw, the newer part of Saginaw. I seen that. I actually, you know, I wanted to get more than just your pictures. I'm personally,
Sure. Absolutely.
I wanted to make sure, and I really did that. And I really understand now the pain and of trying to keep that up. And everywhere where I seen where pavers wasn't done right, it looked bad. It looked real bad. They're all cracked, they're broken, they're kind of like this. So I have to say that when originally seen it, I was probably swaying the other way, went out and did the research, and now I understand. So I
Besides,
just
they're
want to say that.
dangerous. People trying to walk over them, they're all on level and everything.
Oh, yeah,
They
that's
fall,
right,
It's a
yeah.
danger, yeah.
Well, like I say, the last thing we want to do, code enforcement, is,
Yeah.
you know, it's not about enforcement, it's about compliance. And that's what we're trying to get. And the more of these items we can get rid of that we have to enforce or ask for compliance, the better off we all are.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen with this. Once they put those in, it becomes, I mean, in 3 or 4 years, they're going to start looking bad, people's going to start complaining, and then it becomes an habitual problem.
That's exactly what's happening.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to solve. I appreciate that. So vehicles are to be completely resting on such approved surfaces. Again, you have that definition. Some of the rest, the one change we did is all vehicles which are parked or stored in a required rear yard shall be placed behind a screening partition of fencing materials. We scratched the dense vegetation so as to obscure the vehicle from public view. As I explained before, vegetation just doesn't work. It dies, then there's nothing. The neighbors are complaining about the vehicles in the backyard. It's not that they're complaining about them parked on the surface, because that already exists. We've had that ordinance in for a long time, that cars have to be resting or basically on a solid surface from the time they leave the street to the park or store. It's the fact that they can see them. So we are taking away the vegetation and hopefully going with the fence. The other is any inoperable vehicle found in violation of this provision must be made operable or moved to any enclosed building within 10 days from the notification of such existing. That is existing in our ordinances today. We're not changing, we're just making sure it's the inoperable one. You need to hide those inoperable vehicles. You need to put them behind a screening, put them in a building. That's the problem with it. We get a lot of complaints on this.
Right. So this stage, the way it's written, it has to be in a building. Not that it behind that, so I want to make sure that everybody says it isn't either or, it has to be in a building.
That is the intent. That's what the ordinance has always said. I will tell you, the only time we ever know that it's not is when we get a complaint. We can't see through your fence. We're not going to be looking through your fence. It's when we get a complaint that we have to follow up on.
Right.
If it is inoperable, then we will tell them what the ordinance is. Other than that, I promise you there are multiple cars out there inoperable in backyards right now.
Right.
But that's not what we're doing. We're not driving around looking for that, because that's not what we're doing. That's not the intent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I understood the intent of it was, you know, get junk cars with rats and stuff out of your backyard. I mean, you know, which becomes a problem to the neighbors. Sure. That's the biggest problem I see. But I was sitting here looking, as I was reading this, trying to ponder, is there some way we could make it better? And one of the things, I think I sent it back, was, is there some way for people who say they got a, I don't know, 64 Chevy or something, and they're trying to restore it, is there some way we could create, and you tell me if it'd be a nightmare, if it would be, a permit where somebody could request a permit to have it back there for so long as they're restoring it? Something like that. I don't know.
I don't see that would be, I'd say, but customer friendly at all.
Okay.
The thing is when you say restore, I've restored vehicles.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put a vehicle that I'm spending money in restoring in the middle of my backyard on unimproved surface. That's not happening. That doesn't make sense. We've got 15,000 in a motor. It's not staying outside.
Yeah.
And tarps are a problem. They tend to harbor rats, cats. That's something we don't recommend at all.
Well, if you have cats and rats, they should equal each
Well,
other out.
yes, your neighbors don't appreciate it, those are the problem, but,
I agree, and that's what I said. So I just wanted to bring it up, nothing.
no, I appreciate that.
Cool.
And it brings up a good point. A lot of this stuff doesn't come from us, it comes from neighbors complaining.
Absolutely.
A lot of the stuff we get, that we send, Larry and his folks out for is a neighbor complaint. It's not the city going and looking for violations, it's neighbors saying, fix this thing, fix this guy's fence, whatever. So a lot of it doesn't originate, please don't think it comes from us or Larry, it doesn't, it comes from your neighbors.
It is it is your neighbors. Non-residential parking development standards, we've added we've add some recommendations on here, but not for the 4 inches of reinforced Portland cement concrete over compacted subgrade in all districts. Not less than 2 inches of hot mix asphalt over at least 6 inches of lime treated subgrade or other approved materials in all districts.
I got a question here on this, because I do know some people, so one, I was actually shocked it was only 4 inches. I would have thought it would have been thicker, but that's okay. What is it? I don't know. What is the standard for a driveway? Isn't it 6 inches? I could swear it was 6 inches. Could be totally wrong, though.
Within the right of way, it's 6 inches.
In the right way, yes.
In the right way,
Yeah.
okay.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's cool. The next thing, some people actually want to do a really good job and they want to make these decorative. And I have been through the neighborhood and I've seen where they took those, I think they're called flagstones, and they put it in the concrete. So it's concreted, but it has flagstone all in it. And you could go that further. Some people like brick. If they have a concrete in the bottom, they built their foundation of concrete and then they put brick on top of it. That's still acceptable, right? Within this?
As long as it meets the intent of this ordinance, I would think we would definitely have to look at that.
As long as it could have embedded things in the concrete like brick, exposed
I
rock.
think if it was still rated for all that, which is another
That's
thing,
right.
we would definitely get with Misty or Kimberly Horn to see what their thoughts are on that. I think that's
Okay.
something we would look at.
Good, appreciate it.
Let's see, I think that's, well, not less than 2 inches of hot mix asphalt over 6 inches crushed, flexible base, subgrade, or other approved materials. The reason why we added the other approved materials, we have a lot of it, obviously, heavy industrial was just in here a minute ago. Sometimes it's just not best to put solid concrete out there. There is gravel, there's road base, and that would come off the recommendations of obviously city staff and Kimberly Horn. That is why we added that in there, so that it left some options for heavy industrial.
Yeah, that's the way I read that when I read it.
I think you've been through these pictures, so we'll go through them quickly. If you've got any questions on these.
Now, can we go back?
Yep.
I just want to ask this. That right there, that should already violate our, I mean, there should be an ordinance that you already.
Well, this one is a constant battle.
Yeah,
I will just say
okay.
that, okay?
But I mean, that right there, we don't need to create this to fix that. That's what I'm saying. There's already an ordinance out there that addresses this, right?
That is correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
This is multiple violations, right?
There's multiple violations on this house.
Frequent flyer?
Yeah. And again, this is, I don't believe.
Right, and
is
this
what the
was,
citizens
don't
want.
need to, this was a painful one.
It
A lot of
was.
misunderstanding
It was.
on all parties.
It was. I believe that's it.
There was one other thing, I missed it there, Quinn, and that I had written down at getting that, is trailers that's in the backyard, and I reply back to that. Do they have to be on, if they're behind the wall, do they have to be on improved surface?
Yes, they do.
So it has to be concrete?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Well, our ordinance reflects that already.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
I mean-
number one reason. Most cities are, I'll even take it a step further. Most cities are on the same page we are as far as it's got to be on approved surface. But I'll give you another hint. This would be not my department, but environmental. If you've got a trailer in your backyard, you hook your truck to it, it's a muddy day, you pull it out. What have you done to our streets and sidewalks? There's mud everywhere. Now we've got an issue. We're contacting them to get it cleaned up. We have to call the environmental department, which is Matt Regan. He's got to go over and address this. This is one of those, where, to me, that one makes totally sense.
Because actually, I did read several of the cities, and I was actually even shocked that some cities says that it has to be on approved service or behind. And it doesn't do the and. It
I would
does the
suggest
or.
contacting them, because if you're reading online like I did without calling them, there's a lot of theirs that are not updated yet. There are a lot of other cities, I actually, out of the 10 that I did the study on, 6 of those don't allow, you probably saw that, travel trailers, campers, RVs, in any front or side yard now, period. And we've got a lot of that in this city, but they're totally doing, I mean, they're basically prohibiting that, so.
Well, and
But if it's behind a screening fence, again, on an approved service.
Who owns the city?
Citizens.
And
The
the
citizens.
majority of citizens should get what the majority of citizens want.
And I can tell you, I've got more complaints as to put them on approved services than I do let them sit in the mud. I don't have anybody that calls me and says, can I let this sit in the mud? I don't have any of those. I've never had one.
Okay.
Once we tell them what the recommendations are, the requirements,
Right.
they comply. And it's only gonna protect their trailer. I'll be honest with you. You don't want your camper trailer sitting in the mud.
Yeah.
And it's just improvement on your property. You're gonna get more money for it in the long run.
Look at it two different
Well, Larry,
ways.
most of the time they're driving over the curb to get to where they're going, right?
Absolutely.
This requires an approved surface all the way back, which would have a drive approach or something off their driveway, a pathway to get there.
Good
instead of
point.
Going over the curb.
So what about, talking about, I mean, because there's a significant number of houses that has access to, say, the power lines. They can drive down the power lines, and they pull their trailers in. I know there's multiple people right now that does
Well,
that.
the problem I would have is you're trespassing. That would be the first thing I'd be concerned about, because you don't have permission. And I can tell you, I've got 4 or 5 letters sitting in my office from Encore. They don't give permission for any of that. There's a matter of fact, I've got a letter that I will bring to y'all, because so anybody that's using the Encore easements for anything, be prepared, because I have a letter from the source. They want all those removed, because it is trespassing, it's illegal dumping, and they want it removed. So be prepared for that. I've been telling everybody I talk to, if you're using that for your personal gain, trust me, those days they're short-lived.
Other questions for Larry? Council?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about that. Very concerned. That part there seems, I mean, to be, I mean, I understand the thing of, oh yeah, if they pull in there and hook onto a 12-foot or 16-foot, we're just talking about a utility trailer. We're talking about an 8-foot trailer, or 6-foot trailer. We're talking about I don't know what, $600, 1,200-pound trailer that most of us have that you can buy from Home Depot. You know, most people when they're doing that aren't going to be hooking into mud and concrete, so or dragging it across. I'd be very interested, and I've actually asked for this for the city a couple times, to give me quantitative data of how often this is happening. Where we've had to call the environmentalist out and all of this. I mean, is this just something we're saying to get it through, or is this actually a problem?
Understood. Well, again, we have an ordinance in place that says it's gotta be from the time it leaves the street to the time it rests. So if you're pulling across someone's lot that you don't own, that's not an approved surface, again, you're in violation of that. So I don't know how you get around that.
Yeah. No, I was just talking about just in general that it has to be on an approved surface.
Yeah. That's just recommendations again. All
Yeah,
I'm
I
doing is
agree.
making recommendations. You guys, you're the ones that make the decision, and I enforce what you put in place. So whatever your decision is, that's what I'm gonna enforce.
Well, I'll shut up, and I'd like to hear from the other council members on this.
Other questions, council?
I have a question, and it's probably in a different ordinance than this one, but I get a lot of complaints about some of these people running auto repair businesses out of their homes. It clutters up the streets, it makes it difficult to pass through. Those cars are there for days. Does this ordinance, it doesn't appear that this ordinance addresses this type of issue, but is that,
So that is a separate ordinance.
Okay.
That is something that we are slowly getting to. I
Okay.
have 2 code enforcement officers, but I can tell you one particular that you may be talking about. Everyone knows about it. That is fixing to be addressed next month.
Okay.
We have been putting a lot of information together, so I believe you're going to see a change pretty quick on that one.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't see anything about curbside parking and,
Well, again, it's not illegal to park on the street. If it's your residence, that's what the street's there for. Unfortunately, some of our streets are narrow, which causes problems for the fire department and emergency services, but
well, if it causes problems for some of our own personal
Personal traffic.
vehicles, I know it causes a lot of problems
absolutely,
for our fire department, so. All right, thank you so much for that.
absolutely.
We have several of those around the city, don't we?
We do,
No, we didn't.
we do.
I know of 3 or 4 of them, so,
Well, you're not, yeah.
yeah.
Council, other questions for Larry? I appreciate your work on this, Larry, and coming back to us, and we think you're fixing all this. I know there's a lot. Ordinances are very complicated, and we appreciate all the work.
I appreciate that.
It's not easy, I understand. We are in a public hearing, so the lectern is open. Anyone who wishes to speak at this point can approach the microphone and speak on this subject. Seeing none, then at,
Well, I would like to hear from my fellow council members on the unimproved in the backyard or the improved. Is this a good thing to?
I'm happy as it's presented. I support Larry and what he's done. I think that's a good idea. I have no problem with it.
I don't have any, I think it would just improve the value of your property.
Well, the value of our property is going up so much anyways, that doesn't, we're not having a problem with that.
And again, I think if we don't, or if we already get complaints on this, we'll get more. Neighbors will complain on folks parking in the mud or parking there, whatever. So it's not gonna come from us, it's gonna come from your neighbors. And that's where we hear it a lot from
Yeah,
complaining about how it looks, and they don't wanna live in a junkyard and somebody
Yeah.
with 10 cars in their backyard or trailers or whatever.
Yeah, I've definitely heard complaints about, things parked in the front yard where they can see, but I have yet to have anybody complain about anything like that, a trailer parked in the backyard. Now, if it starts getting overgrown and stuff, we already have another ordinance that falls under the lawn not kept. And so, you're gonna have that regardless whether they put concrete back there or not.
But if you don't have some kind of an ordinance, what's gonna stop them from doing one trailer? And then they say, oh, well, I can just stick this one over here, and then this one over here, and then pretty soon you're gonna have a whole yard of it, in my opinion. I mean, that might happen.
But they're still gonna do that because they just pour a bigger concrete slab.
Well, if they got a concrete slab, then they can put it on there. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it,
Is this an issue since I use my granddaughter's wagon as a trailer on the back of my tractor? My tractor is, but not not the wagon.
All right, council, other questions, comments? Oh, Mary, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say, at your request, I do support the ordinance that is being suggested.
Any questions then at 6:54? Take us out of a public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation for planning and zoning for the, whatever this is here, residential and non-residential parking standards as presented.
Do I have a second? Oh, Paul, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Paul, second, please cast your vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate your hard work.
Good job.
Moving forward, item number 14, consideration action regarding award of bid for Knowles Drive Phases 2 and 3 project. Randy Newsom, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item came before the council at the May 2nd meeting. It was tabled. I think council wanted to see some details on the pedestrian crossing, and I think Trent provided that to everybody. Staff is kind of excited about getting this project out on the street for bid and hoping we get some good construction prices in there. We're going to finish up phase 1. We're saying August. I'm going to say probably closer to September, but we would like to get the next phase rolling. It really looks nice, and I think everybody's going to really like it.
What would be the timing of these next phases if approved?
If approved, we'll get it out on the street to bid and hopefully get construction going by July or August.
Do
Get her done.
All right, council, questions for Randy? Or Trent?
Yeah, I was at the farmer's market the other day, and people were asking, are we gonna be able to still have some street parking for the farmer's market and the switch yard, or is that all gonna go away?
Trent?
Yes, there will not be any street parking along Knowles. That was one of the benefits that we had kind of perceived from this, actually. I think currently there are no parking signs up, but with the curb, it'll be a little more difficult for most drivers to park on Knowles.
So are we gonna add parking lots over that area?
We've discussed with Randy, we're working with Atmos on expanding the parking lot that you access off of Longhorn. Currently, there's a really old Atmos easement right there, but Rick and Randy and myself have been working with them to clear that off the book so we can expand that parking lot.
What about that little parking where they put, I'm sorry, that little parking on the grass there right off of Knowles? On the corner?
The one near the pavilions?
The what?
The one near the food truck pavilions or
Yes,
further north?
yes.
That one, we've looked at drawings to expand that. I don't think we've moved forward with that recently. I think.
She's talking about the grass part.
Yeah, I'm talking, are they still gonna be able to park there? Is the curb gonna stop so they can still pull up in there? It doesn't have to be cement, but, you know, not right this second, is what I'm saying, you know.
Yeah, we
something-
don't have any plans right now, but I think we can definitely look at where adding more parking and making sure they can still park in the grass.
They can still
areas
park there
if it
for a
works.
while anyway.
We're looking at every option we can to improve parking down there in that area because of the traffic congestion. The good news is that I've talked to the lady over at the acquisitions for Atmos, and we're getting a survey put together to send to her, and then they can vacate that blanket easement that's prevented us from expanding any of that parking down there.
Okay.
I got a major concern here with this. I mean, farmer's market is one of the most popular things we have in the city that, you know, that the citizens love. And we go in and take a bunch of their parking space away without having an already immediate solution. That's a concern. I find it very hard to not table this until you guys come up with how you're gonna offset the parking they're gonna lose.
So what parking are we losing?
The parking along the
street.
Street.
Where
I
the
understand
cars-
there's supposed to be no parking, but that's the only place they got to park. So when you take that
They park
away,
from the tennis courts all the way up.
Right.
yeah.
So the phase that is in the area that you're talking about, that won't go under construction for another 18 months, at least a year. Because we're gonna start basically from the north side where phase one ends to work our way down. So we've got plenty of time for that. Like Randy said, it's been at least a 1 year, 2 year process to get Atmos to release this easement. And I think they're very close to having that done. We've confirmed it with multiple people. And so expanding that parking lot that you access from Longhorn that serves the farmer's market, I think they're looking to double that parking spaces there. But we could look at adding even more, I think, if we really wanted to.
I mean, I'm
When are
okay.
they looking?
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That Atmos blanket, is it over on that side where the parking lot is now toward the two?
It's west of the
stores?
existing
Yeah.
parking lot down there
Yep.
now. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I want to the last thing I want is a bunch of neighbors showing up at my house because we cut off their parking. Okay, so,
Yeah, but they shouldn't be parking off the street now anyhow, right?
No, it's very dangerous. We put those signs down there at the request of the police department,
Yeah.
because you got kids that jump out of their car and dart across the street, and
Yeah.
those cars going up and down Knowles, they're not looking
I
for.
mean, it's unsafe right now.
Well,
where
you've
they're
got a crosswalk there that nobody pays attention to that's driving down Knowles anyway. I think having the cars there kind of slows people down a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I mean-
I'm with Nick. That was the same question I was gonna ask. If you don't have an immediate plan in place to compensate for the parking that we're gonna lose even during the construction of this road.
So, right, so like I said, the parking spots along Knowles, or what we're calling parking spots that actually aren't parking spots, won't be lost for at least another 12 months. And I'm very confident, I mean, I want Randy's opinion, that we're gonna be able to expand that parking lot well before then, in the Knowles parking.
Once I get the survey to Atmos and they release that blanket easement, I can put the plan together and get the county's gonna build it for us, just like we
Right,
did that one.
right.
When do you expect that to happen?
We need to do the survey. That'll only take a couple of weeks. We've gotten permission from Atmos to vacate the easement, so they're really just looking for a replat or a re-survey of the park.
Who does the survey? Is that on us or
Pardon me?
the survey? Who's?
We're doing the
Kim,
survey
we're
just
doing
to
it.
establish the boundaries.
And then
So
the
what
county's
hurts us
gonna
to
work
wait
with the parking
to
lot.
approve this till we get the survey information back?
What's going to hurt us is if we don't approve this, we're not going to be able to hold the contractor to these prices based on the contract language, and we would have to rebid the project. So, that is a lot of effort for staff and for Kimley Horn to re-advertise the project, but also I'm pretty confident that we wouldn't get as great a price as that we got on this project. And I've talked with Dana and other team members, and they think that we got very great pricing, very aggressive pricing. So,
So can we approve this with as long as the parking gets situated, Brian?
Well, so if
I know that's gonna be kinda,
if we award the bid and sign the contract,
right,
I mean, they're typically in the construction contracts, a provision that allows us to cancel for no reason at all, but we would have to pay any expenses that were incurred up to that date. So that really is up to you. So that's just going to be a difficult contingency to add in.
gotcha.
So how do we,
So if we want, there's even another area that we can expand on. The parking area down there beside the dog park. If y'all are familiar, I mean, we'd lose some space down there where I think they have some backstops that the kids practice at. We could expand that parking lot today. And that would take a lot, I mean, that would probably take care of all the parking that's going along downside that road.
so when will this take effect to impact the parking? What, 6 months from now?
I'm thinking 12 months from August.
12 months from August, okay. So, I mean, here's my thing, I trust you. Do we have a commitment from you that you'll have it resolved? before-
Absolutely.
I think Randy and Trenton have pretty clear direction on what we want to happen with the park.
So
Absolutely.
he's just waiting for Atmos
Yeah,
right now,
that's
so yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm trying to come up with a solution here.
Yeah, I don't want to hold up this, but we've already held it up once, and I want to get this moving, because it does take a lot of time and money to make this happen, and then to get the bids out will take more time, and this will just slow the project down.
And also I'm wanting to get this thing going because it's going to affect our Christmas parade route.
Oh. Oh, no.
So if I get it going now, we can get by that.
Did you see how you pulled that trump card out on?
I know he did. Yeah, I know he did. Well,
If we look at the feasibility of adding a parking lane, additional lane that people could still park along there.
Yeah, if staff ask us to do that, we can definitely look at adding
there
parallel
would be a
parking.
lot of,
Yeah, is there room for that? I don't know if there's enough space there, and you're going to just take more land.
I'd have to look. I mean, I think we'd mainly be talking about the west side of the roadway. But like you said, we'd have to check the feasibility of it, the financial. It's a lot cheaper
Can
to
we
build.
A big parking lot, bigger?
a great big parking
Yeah,
lot.
big parking lot over there.
Well, I'm thinking also for the food truck, some people, they want to just go quick, grab something and get back in their car and not have to walk all the way over from the other parking lot.
Well,
I'm
if
also
they're gonna eat
thinking
that
about-
food, they're gonna gain calories, they need to walk it off.
Thinking about handicap parking as well, because, that's going to be a much longer distance for a lot of folks.
I think what might be a better service is just if we study the parking, and it's not hard to ask me to attend these food trucks events.
And study
I
on
like-
getting it done for that parade.
I like coming at those anyways.
Well,
So,
look, how about this? Why don't we ask Trenton and Randy to come back with a proposal about parking in a month?
Yeah.
6 weeks, what makes sense?
We could pass this and then go ahead and do the parking, yeah.
They can come back in.
Yeah.
What?
How long would
Let
it
us
take
take a
you?
look
Month,
at
2
it.
months? What do y'all think? What do y'all need?
2 meetings. No.
Let's
I can have it
come up
in
with a
a-
plan. Right.
We can have it in a month,
In a
plan
month?
for parking, expanding the parking.
All right, so y'all come back sometime in June?
Sure.
With a parking plan?
Absolutely.
That sound good,
That
council?
sounds
Yeah,
good to me.
sounds great.
Okay. Thank you, guys. All right, good.
Have we looked at what the traffic impact is going to be with the new parking coming off of Longhorn?
We have not.
Any ideas what it might be?
You're saying with the added vehicles entering Longhorn?
Because I know a lot of times, especially in the evening, it's really hard to see that curb or that left turn lane as you exit onto Longhorn. You know, there really needs to be some one-way signs that put up there. There are a lot of.
When you're turning off Knowles, you mean turning left off Knowles?
No.
No, when you're going.
When you're coming out of the parking lot onto Longhorn on the west side of the food truck park,
You gotta take a right, and then you gotta go that.
it's not easy to see because it's not grass, it's just a little cement
Oh,
median.
you can find the entrance at all.
Yeah.
So well, the entrance is fine, it's coming out. It's not easy to see that curb.
I understand what
For the
you're
median.
asking. I
Okay,
think
we need a street
I think we
light.
should take a look at
We
that.
need some
and
way
make
to,
that a
put a
proper-
one-way sign up there.
I think we should make that a proper drive approach, honestly, and widen it a little bit.
Yeah, that would.
You
Can
know,
we
to
take
make
a
a
look at
left-hand
that?
turn out of there, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Unless you run over the median.
Whenever we take
I've
a
seen
look
a
at
lot
the
of people
parking,
mess
I'll
that
look
up.
at that as well. Make a recommendation.
So
Good.
with more cars there, I can see that being a bigger issue.
Mhm. Agreed. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
All right, council, other questions for Randy or Trent?
Get it done for the parade.
Yes, ma'am.
That's very clear direction, isn't it?
I know it is.
All right. Any other questions? Questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consideration regarding awards of Knowles Drive Phase 2 and 3 project.
I'll second it for you.
Tyler, second that? Please cast your vote. Motion passed. Hey, great job, guys. Thanks for getting back to this. Let's move. Let's get on that. Item number 15. Now, this is exciting. Library presentation. Ellen Ritchie, Library Director. Come on up, Ellen. One thing Ellen loves is public speaking, so we were happy to have her up here.
You want to make a bet on how much she asked for? Come on.
No, not really. Okay,
I know, she don't ever ask for anything.
there we are. Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, I am Ellen Ritchie. I am the library director, and I am here, is it not working? Okay, in just a moment, with a few of my library staff, who you'll see in a minute, to give you an update on our department, and there's some kind of notice over our presentation. We'll get that out of the way. There you go. Update on our department and show you a little bit about what we do and how we do it. There we go. Okay, so here is our organizational chart. It was a little weird putting this together because we don't fall neatly into categories, really. We all do a little bit of everything. But this was the best I could do. We got sort of 4 divisions: circulation, tech services, adult services, and children's services. And you can see the different staff members that fall under each of those divisions. But we really do overlap a ton. We've got Pam in tech services, who also runs an adult program, 2 adult programs. We've got Shelley in circulation, who helps with story time sometimes. So it's it's a mixed bag. We do everything. I will go through each of these as we go along, but first I wanted to show you our budget breakdown. This is our current year general fund budget, broken down by sort of broad categories of what we spend the money on. You can see, like most departments, the lion's share is personnel. That's that big orange section there. And then coming in second is the library collection. That's obviously new books, magazines, movies, audiobooks, ebooks, all that stuff. And then behind that, the other pieces that make the library run. In addition to the general fund, we also get money from the donations fund. We receive donations on the water bill from individuals occasionally, and also from our Library Boosters organization. They donate a big chunk of money every year to support the Summer Reading Club programs. And those are broken down, as you can see on the screen there. We use some of that for personnel in the summertime. We have a technology fund that we use for replacements and improvements. If something breaks, if we need something new, if there's something better that we can get that makes the library run better. We have a nice big piece for the collection, and we use that to buy sort of fun things, award lists, ebooks, themed collections. Like if we do what have we done? We do our World Cultures section. We bought that with donations fund money. We've done other just fun collections of books to add to the collection. We try to use the donations fund money to enhance the library. So we use the general fund to run the library, and this is just the extra cherry on top. We buy supplies. We pay for our performers and educators that come out. Summer Reading Club performers. The petting zoo for the Train and Grain comes out of here. And then memberships in organizations. So that is the donations fund. Okay, so back to our divisions here. Circulation, these are the ladies you see up front when you walk in the library. Right now we've got Karis, Shelley, and a vacant position. We just had somebody leave, but we hope to fill that within the next couple weeks. And then Miss Ruth does our shelving. And you can see their faces on the screen. I wanted to make sure I had a picture of all the staff so that you could see us. Then I'll let you know kind of what these people do. So the circulation desk people are responsible for checking in everything that comes back in and getting it back to the shelf in its exact right place so that we can find it when we need it again. We help the patrons find the items, answer all kinds of questions. You wouldn't believe all the questions we get. And then, of course, check items out when people are ready to go home with stuff. They also assist with all of our computers in our computer lab. People who need to know how to get into their email or print off their tax return or apply for a job, so they're there to help all of those patrons with, whatever they need. We also send a lot of faxes, surprisingly enough. People still do that. Answer the phones, maintain all the book displays with our new books and featured books, and then just provide all kinds of customer service. Tech services are our backroom staff. That is Carol and Pam there. They've been with us the longest. Carol's been there 31 years. And then Pam coming in right behind her at 14. So they're our longtime knowledgeable staff. They do a lot of stuff. Anytime we get a new book in, it has to have all the stickers stuck on it, and then it has to be cataloged. So it has to be added to our computer system so that you can look it up, find it, and retrieve it off the shelf. That is not an easy process. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of painstaking detail, and they keep everything running really, really smoothly. They also take care of ordering all our supplies and managing all of our interlibrary loans. So we're part of a network of libraries. We trade books back and forth. That's a lot of in and out and making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. They manage our donations, and they also answer the phones. And then I'm going to turn it over to Ronnie and Megan. Come on up here. We're going to talk about adult services.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Glad to be here tonight. Adult services is what we do. I'm Ronnie Horton, this is Megan Gwines, and we work with GED, citizenship, and ESOL, English for speakers of other languages. And we work with a lot of people in our community. The participation is excellent, and the participants are very grateful for what we do for them. We have a lot of success stories, and some of those are on the screen for you. Sana is a student from Iraq who came to us as a newlywed, speaking almost zero English, worked through that, and just recently received her citizenship, which she's proudly showing there as a U.S. citizen. We have Hai in the other photo up at the top corner. He just recently did a demonstration of Vo Vi Nam, which is martial art from Vietnam. He is one of our English students in the ESOL program, and his son is a doctor and the head of the oncology at Hanover University in Germany. And he's a custodian for one of the school districts here locally. We also have, we've visited several places with with some of our students. Some of those were connected with the local school district, and they've included us. We're collaborating with them. Kasumi is one of our students from Japan, and she has come through our English learning program, and just a few weeks ago was hired by the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. Brand new job there. She's very excited. Got hired as a part-time sub, and they immediately wanted her to come on as full-time, and so she's done that. She was actually in class with me today. I'd like to talk about one of our instructors, Cynthia. We have a lot of instructors. Megan and I both are instructors, but also we have volunteers. We have some great volunteers who help us in GED and citizenship, the whole gamut. A lot of those are retired teachers that have worked in backgrounds varying from children, small children, all the way to adults, but do a very great job in that. Cynthia is one that came to us with no background really in language learning or teaching people language, but we walked her through how to do this. Very dedicated individual, made it an effort to study for it. Now she gives us every Tuesday. And she was, when Wheeler walked out over there a while ago, she was in class. She's a working individual, single lady who works a full-time job and gives every Tuesday to us and teaches all day, leaves and goes to lunch, but is there with us all day teaching students and multiple students during the day. Speaking of collaboration with the ISD, we've been involved recently in their cultural event. They had a large cultural event where they invited people from the entire school district. Megan and I attended. That's where High was doing that demonstration that he was very proud to do. But the collaboration with them as well is Dr. Chadwell has met with us on 2 occasions already in the last month and a half, and he has dedicated his energy and efforts to helping us get new recruits, especially in our volunteer category, which in our department is very crucial that we have volunteers involved, and we have a strong volunteer base, but this will help us to accommodate even more for that new building when we fill up all those classrooms over there, which we're planning to do. Also, our collaboration, Pedro, speaking of collaboration, we've collaborated with him recently. He invited us to be involved in a project to highlight our historical murals that are located around the city. And we created, well, Pedro created a video. Megan did most of the research for it, and I was the mouth. And so we traveled around the city and took those videos, and Pedro and his staff did a great job putting those together to help us. And so we are reaching out to the community, to adults in a lot of different categories, and seeing a lot of success. And now I'm going to let Megan straighten out everything I just said.
Okay, so as Ronnie mentioned, we have 10 instructors who teach ESOL, GED prep, citizenship prep, and Spanish. Right now, we have 67 students enrolled in our program from over 30 different countries. 46 of those are English language learners. We also have 3 students who are working on obtaining their citizenship, and we have 11 people that come to the library each week to take classes from the 2 Spanish classes that we offer at the library. We also have 7 students who are working on our GED prep classes that they take in the library. We also have a program online called Aztec that students can take additional practice problems and practice tests and additional coursework on there. Most of our students that are in person do a combination of both the in-person instruction and the online Aztec program, but we also have about 20 students who do online only. Myself and some of the other instructors monitor their progress and assist them if they need additional help. One of the other programs that we also offer in our adult education program is History Buffs, which is our weekly history discussion that we have on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. It's very well attended, and we average about 6 to 12 people per session. We have people that join us in person and also people that join via Zoom. And we cover a wide range of topics, anywhere from the history of toilet paper to the history of German immigrants in America, which is what we covered most recently. And does anyone have any questions for us?
We need to say thank you.
That's awesome.
I've talked with a lot of senior citizens who would like to see more of the history of Saginaw, and they're a wealth of information, and they'd like to be able to participate in something like this. How could we incorporate their knowledge into building up a better historical knowledge of this great city?
As far as involving them, anyone is welcome to join our Thursday night history buffs and make suggestions to that. We take suggestions as far as what our topics are going to be. Specifically of Saginaw, we talk about, like Megan said, history from a wide variety of topics.
Right.
Saginaw is one of those that we hit on occasion with different things, and also some recent projects that we've been involved in with the city that will affect one of the new developments in the area that's going to be historical. But anyone is welcome to come and participate in that and contribute to it. They can either do it on Zoom or they can come in person. All we need from them is for them to contact us and give us an email address, a way to contact them, and we would be sure to include them.
Have you reached out to the Senior Citizen Center to talk to these
Yes,
people?
ma'am.
Okay.
In fact, one of the first things we did when we opened History Buffs as a weekly project is we went to the Senior Citizen Center, which will be easier to say when they're over here closer to us. And we presented to them, talked to them about that. We talked to them about also the Spanish class. We have a lot of participation from the Senior Center for the Spanish class as well. So we presented to them on several occasions.
Okay.
Christy up there has allowed us to come and make short speeches about the things we have going on there too. So.
Okay, because I still hear people wanting to get involved, so I don't know how the word, I don't know where the communication is breaking down.
Yeah, all
but
they
I'll
need
try
to
to
do
find
is
it.
make contact with us.
But
We
I'll
will- yes,
start
we'll be
sending them
happy
to you. Thank you.
We both have cards with you. You need to make contact, they can do that.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And next, we will hear about Children's Services. Angela couldn't be here tonight. She's in Denmark visiting family, but Christy's here to talk about Children's Services.
You do the clicky thing. Mayor, council, thank you for having me. Before I get into everything I do, and some of you know how crazy I am in my program, for those of you who were collecting paper towel rolls, that was for me. Thank you. One man's trash is my treasure for summer. That is part of it. I'm going to read Angela's section first, and then I'll kind of go over what I've been doing in my world of mayhem. Like Ellen said, Angela is in Denmark. I'm pretty sure she's enjoying herself. She's been sending some really fabulous pictures. This past year, well, backtrack a little bit. We all discussed, Angela, Ellen, and I discussed creating a children's advisory board. What that is ages 3rd grade through 6th. And in the literary world, in classrooms, that is an age range of kids who drop off at reading. Because a lot of the reading materials that they have in class is required reading. And if you've seen some of the materials they are required to read, it's not necessarily the most fun or elaborate reading that they want to do. So statistically speaking, that's the age range that we were trying to reach out to, because reading is a lifelong learning habit. And if we can establish that at a younger age, they're going to continue it into their adult years. So that's where our focus was. And so the Children's Advisory Board was hatched. That's what I'm going to call it. Angela reached out to some of the younger siblings of our teens that participate, and their younger brothers and sisters actually helped form this Children's Advisory Board. Similar to the Teen Advisory Board, it's just children's, to help us create programming for that age range to get them into the library. So we've had slime all over the place. We've had science and, the lava floor lava. And it's taken off really well. We started off with 6 participants, and we had, I think, close to 31 at the last one. So it's kind of hit or miss, but the programming is there, and we're getting that age range back in. We also established an after-school adventure, which I'm giving that one total credit to Angela. With those kids that come for Children's Advisory and that age range, those are the children who come to participate in the after-school adventures. There was a big need, and the children in the advisory board said, why don't y'all ever have programming at this time, like right after school, so we can just come here? Perfect. We took it and we ran with it. So that's where a lot of the kids have started participating, is the after-school adventures. And I believe it happens on the last third Tuesday of every month. I'm sorry about the date, because right now I'm summer reading. My brain is all, oh, I got to create this, and I got to. So we do have the after-school adventures. It's like on the third or the last Tuesday of every month. Also, listening to some of my patrons and my parents of my younger ones, they wanted to see the Friday STEAM, Family STEAM, come back. So we did bring that back. It's like the third Friday of every month. Everything happens Tuesday through Friday. The third Friday of every month, roughly from about 4:30 to about 6. And we set out all manipulatives for STEAM. So we have circuits, we have gears, we have Lincoln Logs, believe it or not, Play-Doh, puzzles, Etch-a-Sketch, just things for them to have hands-on with STEAM. So there's that. Then she said, we've done all kinds of activities, such as origami, I forgot about that, the balloon races, rock painting, storybook theater, density rainbows, and the floor is lava. And some programs are a little more active than others, and messy. But I think the kids have fun at all of them. I have had some regulars who keep coming back to see what's next. So I think that speaks volumes for us, that we are reaching not just the smallers from 5th grade on down with me, or the teens that Angela works with, but we're now getting that group, that particular group in. And I think that's wonderful. As for me, again, thank you for those of you who saved paper towel rolls. The craft that we're going to do with that is actually rain sticks, believe it or not. It's one of those things I research, and, well, we're going to have fun with making messes again. Well, that says everything I typically do on paper, but I do a lot more with reaching out to parents and listening to them about the homeschooling. We've had a lot of parents reach out to me about homeschooling materials in the library so that they can have their kids come when I don't have mayhem going. So I reached out to Ellen, and we've added a lot of homeschooling materials for parents to come and work at the library, which includes them being able to use the computers. And if you've seen the children's computers, and I know some people's children have played on those computers in here, there is all kinds of programming that focuses on literature, your basic core curriculum, along with STEAM, and focuses on math and music, the fine arts. So I would like to see more of those computers when our new library is here. But for now, that's where we're at. Next slide. Okay, so one more. Yep, that one. Okay, yes. 36 weekly story times, that almost feels like just a month. There's a lot. I reach out to a lot of people, and that is ultimately my goal. Because there's a lot of little people to reach out to, there's a lot of adults to reach out to, and if things are available for their kids, that's also going to bring them into the library. With that being said, I've also brought in Saginaw Elementary has come back. We've had to break them down into group upon group upon group. It gets a little rowdy with them, but that's okay. I don't believe in having a quiet library. We did have Willow Creek come this just yesterday, who brought 70 of their kids. Saginaw Elementary brought total about 200. And then I've been working with Halfley, and this has been very interesting and fun for me, because we've worked out a collaboration where if the weather is too cold or not so nice outside, I get to go to them. And if I get to go to them, then I get to do the story time for all the kids, not just the ones that they would normally bring to the library. So a lot of times I advocated to go to them, because there's a lot of little minds, even the ones who aren't able to walk or come to us. There's a lot of little minds to reach out to. So, and it's very interactive. I mean, I get up there and do the songs and the motions with them. So if they see people doing it, they're going to want to do it. So that's been fun. And then summer reading. Whew, okay. So if you've been to our summer reading program, you kind of see a lot of activity, I guess is toning it down, that I bring. And I love it. I absolutely love it, because not only am I bringing in the people from this community, but we've started, a couple of parents did actually, reaching out to other little cities who their library are still not doing the same kind of programming. And if they do story time, it's only once a week. And in the summer, I mean, okay, when you have idle hands, we all know what happens with idle hands. So the more programming we have, the better it is to bring people into us, and I'm all about that. I've started bringing in some people from Fort Worth and Keller and Azle, Lake Worth. We still have some regulars from Hazlitt, and us, and I think that's fabulous, because as I was looking at some numbers, I'm not much of a number person, but if I go based on the numbers that I had for April, which is what I really look at, April leads into that busier time. So April of last year, we had 212 just during regular school programming. This year we had, 342. Yeah, right? Yeah. So this is good, and I want to see that number. I know we don't have the home for it now, but we make do with what we have. And once the new library's here, we're going to have ample room to bring in more people. Miscellaneous, I still partner with teachers in the district to either come to them with story time, or they reach out to me about reading materials for their classes. One thing I've got to kind of give myself a little bit of credit for. I am still in grad school, so last semester I took a course on graphic novels and comics, thinking it was going to be an easy breezy class. No, it wasn't. I've read more, like hundreds of books. But because of that experience, I have reached out with teachers to try and advocate to have these kinds of books put into classrooms. And the reason why is because kids a lot of times are visual learners. Some of us adults are visual learners. And if they have the images with the words, they've been more successful, and the teachers have been telling me that. So if they don't have the materials, then I try to get them the materials. I'll make sure that they're available in the library so that they can come, and the teachers can have an extended time to check out materials, but that they can come and check out the materials for their kids, and that way we have successful reading all the way around. And I think that I'm really grateful for that. Summer reading, again, our theme this year is all together now. Well, we are a collaboration all together. I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for all of you supporting what I do, even though it may seem kind of mayhem and crazy at times. But I thank you for that. Some of the themes within that, I'm focusing on thankfulness, sharing, helpfulness, kindness, teamwork, patience, and working together. All the things that we do as librarians with the community, I'm trying to advocate and work with kids to do that amongst themselves. So I kind of like the theme. It was a little hard to work with at first, and I wasn't the only one that said that. A bunch of librarians said that. But I think that's a good segue. When they see us collaborating with you or with the businesses here, which is one big thing I do advocate for, then they're going to see that as, oh, they work with everybody, yes. And I'm very grateful for the collaboration with some of the businesses in this area, because they help provide donations and support for the summer reading by providing the incentives that helps these kids keep reading. Because I reward the kids each week as they read, each week. And then at the end I do a big drawing for other prizes, which Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem have helped me hand those out. And I thank you guys for that, because I know that takes out of your time, and I appreciate it. Let's see, I think I've covered all mine. I think that's all I have. Yeah, I got a lot, but that's it. I think I probably said it all in 30 seconds.
And just so y'all know, that's why the kids like her, is because of her energy.
You know what, that's what parents say. I don't know where you get it, and I'm like, you be around them enough, you'll develop it, and then after they leave, it's like, oh, I need a nap now, so. But thank you guys for having me, and thank you for all your support.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christy. This is not working now. There we go. Okay, before we go, I wanted to mention MetroShare. This is the new network of libraries that we joined back in October, if y'all remember that. So I wanted to give you an update on how well that's going. It's going great. We love it. We joined in October 2022. There are 11 member libraries. You can see there, Karis did this thing where she went around to each library and took a picture with the sign. So I wanted to put that on there. So they are sort of circling around Fort Worth, those member libraries, and our card is good at all of those libraries. Their cards are good at our library. We also send items back and forth through our internal courier, which has been so nice. Everything gets everywhere so much faster than our old system. And just last month, we traded around 1,000 items back and forth with the other libraries in our network. Our staff holds 7 committee positions in on the different committees. There's a children's committee and a cataloging committee and a circulation committee and all that stuff. So we are really involved with the different librarians. We've done a lot of networking with our colleagues at the other libraries, and that's just going really well. We like it a lot. And we have our beautiful new catalog, if you've been online. That's part of that too. So then I wanted to end with our needs. Of course, salaries, as everybody has said. Our biggest need is our part-time salaries. They are currently at $12.60 an hour, which is kind of an embarrassing number. If you look at the different fast food restaurants and what they're advertising for, just basic positions, because these are our ladies at the front desk, and they do so much. All those weird questions, they can find the answers to. They're right there doing all the customer service for our citizens. And I feel like we need to, give them a salary that's more proportional to the market and to the work that they're doing.
What would that number be?
Oh, good question. You can go down the street to Fort Worth, to the Fort Worth Library, and they could get, I believe, $17 an hour. So somewhere between those two, I think, would be what I would wish for, because they're worth it. I mean, they do the hard work. Helping our citizens. So that I would put that at the top. Of course, all of our other salaries could use some work too, just like every other department. Children's staff, you heard Christy, how much work she's doing. She really needs an assistant. That's something that's gonna have to come up at some point. And then, of course, the staff levels for our new library, due to delays in the design process, which I'm very sad about. We are not going to be moving within this upcoming budget year, most likely, but that is coming, probably in the next one after that. And the new facility has more service points. It's going to have a lot more space. It's going to have more circulation, more people coming in. We're going to need more staff for that. So that is just something on the horizon that we need to consider and be prepared for. And that is about all I've got. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so Gabe, can we get, like we've done such, can we get your department to do an analysis of what the other libraries around here is paying?
Yeah, that's something we can get, for sure.
And what is the new staffing levels? And what's the plan for when the new library opens?
Well, Ellen and I have discussed the need for a couple of additional people probably when we are moving into the new library. So that's something that you'll see in a future budget.
Yeah, we're going to need more circulation people because we not only have the front desk, but we'll also have a drive-up window, and then all of our intake, all of our returns will be done in the back of house instead of at the front desk. So we're going to need more people for that too.
So can we get do we have to wait to then? We should be able to do that analysis now and say, we got one on here, right? A couple's two, so it sounds like it's going to be more than a couple. So we know we need the children's one, right? The children's staff? Absolutely agree.
That's our most pressing need. We could use that right now. The others, we've done several different lists, but that keeps kind of keeps changing as the time changes. But yeah, we can get numbers.
Ellen, I have to commend you First of all, you need to do something with your staff. They're just a little too lethargic. No, actually, they're great. You come up here to this council year after year after year. You never ask for anything.
Well, I'm asking for
And
stuff.
I mean, I just, it's like, wow, hey, Ellen needs something.
We
This
are
is
very
great.
well supported, and we're very thankful
So,
for that.
it's-
And we are able to do a lot with, with the budget that we have, with the staff that we have. So I try to only ask for what I really need.
And, I mean, it's refreshing, to see what you do with what you have, and finally, come to the council and say, hey, I need. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I mean, it's one thing for us to say you're doing a great job. It's when the presentation is phenomenal, but I want everyone the citizens to know. Well, the citizens spoke, and when we did the citizen survey, you all came back practically perfect.
We were very proud of
You
that.
guys were almost
yes.
like Mary Poppins,
That's right.
And yeah, going through this, I just was amazed at reaching out and working with the, teaching at home. That truly impressed me, because you get thinking about that. Well, these people they're choosing to teach their kids at homeschool, and they don't have a big library like the public school system or private school systems do. And you guys seen that and filled that niche, and that's just, to me, that's phenomenal, along with everything else.
Yeah, we try to be responsive to anything, that the citizens are needing or asking for. That's one thing we've added recently, just a better focus on the homeschooling community. The Spanish class is another. People came to us, they said, hey, we want to learn Spanish. Ronnie went out and found us a Spanish teacher. We have those classes twice a week, and that's been a really, really big success too.
You are very proactive.
I mean, I view the library almost as the face of the city. So many folks come to the library as like a gathering place. People come for information, for knowledge, for gossip, for just all kinds of stuff at the library. I mean, if you want to know what's going on in Saginaw, go to the library. We don't know it, they know it more than we do, so that's absolutely 100%. But it is, all joking aside, it is a real hub for our community, and that's why it's so important, and we're really looking forward to the new library. We're not looking forward to staffing it yet, but we'll tap the brakes on that, but eventually we know that will come, but we're looking forward to the new library.
It's going to be great.
Oh, Mary, please.
I'll join the chorus and compliment the library on all the services that you provide and how well received they are. But I wondered, I've just thought of this while you were giving your presentation. Has your library or any libraries ever had one of their programs be a book club?
Oh, we have a book club. Yeah,
You
that didn't make
do?
it in here. Oh.
Okay.
I knew I was going to forget
Is
something.
it for adults or?
We do. We have an adult book club. We are exploring the possibility of a children's book club,
Okay.
but that's not something we offer right now.
Right.
That takes a lot of planning,
And maybe summer would be good for the children.
Summer's good
you
for
know.
some things, it's not so good for other
Yeah.
things. But yeah, that's something we're talking about. But yeah, right now we do have an adult book club. It
Okay.
meets on the second Thursday of each month, and we read a variety of fiction and nonfiction, and that's really well attended. We get a lot of people for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate it. Thank you, folks. Appreciate all the information. Great job. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, back to, I can get fun because I really am loud. You had mentioned something about, like an analysis of the surrounding areas. Okay, part of my class that I was taking this year, that was one of the questions my professor got, so I reached out to the Burleson HR. So I have that. If you would like me to send it to you, I can.
Please, thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
Just make Gabe's job easier.
Mayor.
And Mayor,
Well, if I knew he had it before I had to find it, I would have gone to him.
All right, item number 16, Animal Services Presentation. Jose Wheelan. Welcome, sir. Thanks for being patient, Jose. We got to you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I appreciate you letting us come out and talk to y'all about this. Forward, not forward? Okay. So currently our department, Animal Control, has 7 personnel. There's myself, the Animal Services Manager, Adoption Rescue Coordinator, Kelly, Animal Control Officer Brianna Farley, Animal Control Officer Taylor Walian, We currently have a full-time tech position that is vacant. We are supposed to be doing interviews on the 23rd for that position. We have 2 part-time technicians that are not here. They did not come to the council meeting. In order for them to come, I would have had to flex their time. They're only allowed 29 hours pay period. That's Joseph O'Connor and Jill Smith. Our mission of City of Saginaw Animal Services is to protect and nourish the relationship between our community and the animals within our community. Through the following objectives, we strive to provide friendly, professional service, provide a safe haven for cruelly treated, abandoned, and unwanted animals, enforcing animal laws and ordinances, and providing rabies control services, addressing and balancing the health, safety, and welfare needs of both the animals and people in the community, educating and informing the public about responsible pet ownership, including promotion of sterilization, providing a safe, compassionate shelter for stray and unwanted animals, reuniting lost animals with their lost pets with their families, and placing unwanted animals into permanent new homes, and maintaining a highly trained professional caring staff. Our staff, or our animal control officers, are required to maintain continuing education hours of 30 hours over a 3-year period. So we're constantly having to go to class, learn new techniques, follow up on amendment or the new laws that come out dealing with specifically with animal control. Our current hours of operation, we've actually opened a little later due to the amount of cleaning that we're having to do now. As I mentioned before, our part-time techs are only allowed to work 29 hours a week. I currently have 1 shelter tech that works Monday, Tuesday. He's off Wednesday, works Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for 3 hours. My other shelter tech works Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we have 2 animal control officers that work. One's off Sunday and Monday, works Tuesday through Saturday. The other one works Monday through Friday, unless they're doing a 2-week rotation, and they alternate Saturdays. Animal control officers are on duty from 7:30 in the morning to 17:30 at night, so 5:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 1:30 on Fridays, and 8 to 2 on Saturdays. We're also required to be on emergency on-call status 24 hours a day for 2-week rotations. Our starting salaries for animal control: the animal services manager is a grade 24, which is $50,149, which equivalates to $24.11 an hour. The adoption rescue coordinator is the same amount, $24.11 an hour. Animal control officer is a grade 18. They start out at $37,422, which is $17.99 an hour. Full-time shelter tech just got bumped up to $17.50 an hour, which makes that $36,400 for the year. And our part-time tech starts out at $32,327, which is, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I actually got with HR, and their starting pay is actually $12 an hour for part-time. So I did a job salary survey a couple months ago. I went online and I looked at all the cities that are equivalent to our population size, either above or just below, and some of the cities that are going to be about what we're going to top out at 33,000 estimated. Currently, the city of Weatherford, their starting pay for animal services manager is $61,859.20. They have a population of 33,710. I just received an email about a week and a half ago from the city of Lake Worth stating that they were hiring an animal control officer. Their start out pay for an animal control officer is $41,995.20. They have a population of 4,710 people in Lake Worth. They currently work contracts for Sampson Park. Their population is 4,686. Lakeside, 363. Westworth Village, 2,585. Combine all those together, they're still at 12,344, which is a lot less than what we're at. City of Benbrook, the animal control officers start out at 46,656. They're at a population of 24,605. Cleburne, their animal control officers, they start out at 38,653.16, which is 31,999 population. City of Katy, their animal control officers, they start out at 58,240, population of 24,005, and their part-time techs make $17 an hour, which is a lot more than what our part-time techs make.
Now, is our part-time tech making $12 an hour or $15?
12.
12.
I wish they were making $15 an hour, then they wouldn't have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. Current highlights right now, fiscal year 2023, we've had 170 dog intakes as of the end of March. Cat intakes 138, 86 other would be wild animals such as raccoons, possums, skunks, birds, snakes, turtles, anything other than dogs and cats. Live release.
Do we actually manage to go out and do that? I know a lot of other cities don't, right? If it's a wild animal.
Correct. Some, like North Richland Hills, they do not handle wildlife calls unless it's a possibility of rabies. There's a big deal with North Richland Hills where Keen Menifee, who is the animal services manager over there, he came over from Fort Worth. He stopped doing that due to the fact that it encroaches on private business. Our fiscal year for 2022, our dog intakes were 441, cat intakes 297, and 177 others. Our live release rate for dogs was 146, cats was 108, and others was 41. If you don't know what live release means, it means the dog was either, or the animal was either returned to owner, adopted out, rescued, or relocated when it comes to wild animals. Fiscal year 2022, we had 343 live release dogs. Live release cats was 256 and 58 others.
Why do we have such a big difference between intakes and releases?
A lot of that has to do with being short-staffed. Since we've lost one full-time shelter tech, I've had to take 2 ACOs off the street and put them in the shelter to help clean. So that leaves myself out patrolling the street until the shelter's clean.
Okay, I think, I'm not sure that you understood the question. You know, we have a big gap between the intakes and the releases. You know, we have, 40 dogs left on the previous slide?
So those with the fiscal year is not completely over yet, so that's just numbers up to March.
Right, I understand that. Can you go back to the next slide, the previous slide? Nope.
Oops.
Yeah.
Too far.
So you, in 23, you have 170 dogs that you take in, and you released 146. So that leaves, what, 24 dogs that you're not able to get rid of.
Some of those dogs that were coming in for 2023 that was 2022, 2023 that we're in currently, I believe.
And then you
So
have
we still
almost
have-
100 dogs that you were not able to get rid of in 22.
Correct.
So, I mean,
Live release, so the dogs that did not get live released were either euthanized, or majority of them were euthanized, so, which we tried our hardest not to do.
right.
So our live release rate is just those animals that were adopted out. The euthanasia rate is totally different as far as the animals coming out.
Is it a certain breed of dog or something that we have a
Nope.
difficult time getting rid of?
Right now, a majority of our dogs are large breed dogs. So if you walk into our shelter, we maybe have 3 or 4 small dogs. The rest of them are large to medium size. A lot of people are not looking for large to medium size. We've had an increase in owner releases since last year. A lot of that is people are moving, can't take their animals with them. A lot of the landlords now don't allow animals in the rental properties, so they have to bring them to us. We currently have a waiting list right now for owner releases. We've had to start one. Registrations, fiscal year so far, we've done 624 registrations for the year, 71 microchips, and we've ran 815 calls. Last year, we had 1,193 registrations, 187 microchips, and 1,388 incidents ran. The year before that, we did.
Is incidents ran, is that where somebody's called about a nuisance animal?
That is either us going out on a nuisance animal or on a complaint call, or somebody coming into the shelter. And so say Chief Spears is driving down the road and finds a dog running around in the park, and he stops, picks the dog up and brings it in. There's an incident for that when they come in to show, that way we can show what happens with the animal from the time it comes in to the time it leaves the facility. I just lost my train of thought. 2021, we had 1,194 registrations, 168 microchips, 1,453 incidents that we ran. Volunteer hours, 2023 so far, we've done 674 volunteer hours for the year. We do have a lot of people that come in and volunteer, but we do also have a lot of people that sign up to volunteer and then never show up. In order to be an active volunteer, you have to make a minimum of 8 hours a month. Majority of our volunteers are younger. We do have a couple of older volunteers that come in during the workday. Our president for our 501c3 actually comes in every Monday and helps cleans the cats. Fiscal year 2022, our volunteer hours was 2,329 in 0.25 hours. We've actually gone to creating a community service program again. We stopped that at one point in time because we were having a lot of problems with the community service workers not wanting to show up, or they would say they were going to show up and then not show up. So we stopped that for about 3 years. With us being short-staffed and needing more help, we've actually added that program back in.
How's it working since you added it back in?
We've had pretty much everybody that signed up has actually showed up.
Okay.
So luckily, there again, they do their hours based on their workability. So if they have a full-time job and the only time they can come in is a Saturday, then they come in on Saturday. We've got one that comes in from 7:30 and he usually stays till about 9:30 and then he goes to work. And he does that at least, he's been doing that at least 3 times a week. So our goals, I'd like to add 1 full-time shelter technician. That's to better assist with the cleaning of the shelter, caring for an increased number of animals, intake population, and scheduling. Right now we have 4 full-time staff. Scheduling time off is kind of hectic with that due to the fact that if we even let 1 or 2 people take off, we put our shelter at low numbers for staff.
Are you confident you're able to fill your empty position?
Say that.
You confident you're able to fill your empty position quickly?
Hopefully, we'll have, we have, I believe, 4 applications or 5 applications that have been turned in for the full-time animal shelter technician spot. We're set up to do interviews on that on the 23rd of this month. So hopefully we can find a candidate out of that to hire on. Our summer program of 2022, that's the summer program that they do with the apprentice, where they come in and they help us out and they learn job skills. Our summer program of 2022, we added 3 40-hour seasonal staff. We were able to keep all the medical, cleaning, et cetera, and everything done at the shelter that needed to be done. Currently, if we are not able to do medical by the end of the day, that gets put off to another day. So after 72 hours, all our animals are vaccinated for their booster shots. Bordetella, DAPPV, their dewormer. They're vetted, so we take them to TCAP, get them vaccinated for rabies, get them sterilized. That way, they're easier to get adopted out, and we're not having to do follow-ups on the back end. So during the summer 2022 program, we had a total of 10 employees versus the 7 that we currently have. I'd like to keep the 2 part-time positions and reclassify 1 to an administrative customer service position to help Kelly out at the front desk. Kelly's our adoption rescue coordinator. His job is mainly to do adoptions and rescues, send animals out to rescues that we can't get adopted out. And with him answering the phones, registrations, adoptions, and other things that he does around the shelter, it's kind of hard for him to focus on doing the rescues. So other staff members are actually having to jump in and help him out. So some of our achievements that we've had, we created and are successfully managing the newly approved 501c3 City of Saginaw Animal Services Welfare and Safety Corporation. Our adoption coordinator is actually the treasurer for this. We've hosted one rabies vaccination clinic on March 25th. The next clinic we've got will be set up for September 23rd, and we're currently working with TCAP to add more for the 2024 season. We contacted TCAP back in 2022, and they were only able to get us 2 spots. I've contacted them after we did that. We had success at the last rabies vaccination clinic, and they said that we could possibly get it to where we do them every quarter if we have a good turnout this vaccination clinic. So hopefully, knock on wood, that happens.
Do you have any idea how many came on the March?
I believe it was like 107, I think it was 175 that came out.
Is that a good number for them?
Yes. It's not as good as what we used to do back in the day. The clinic was from I believe it was from 12 to 2. We used to do the clinics from 8 o'clock to 2 in the afternoon down there at the Chamber of Commerce building. Myself and another staff member, and we used to do a lot of registrations down there. And there were long lines at that one.
So talking about rabies, how often do we run into a dog or a cat that has rabies?
I haven't had a positive dog or cat rabies in the 19 years that I've been here.
Okay.
More of the rabies, more of the animals that we're going to run into that possibly have rabies or that are actually test positive for rabies are going to be bats, skunks, and raccoons, and occasionally coyotes. Since I've been here in the 19 years that I've been doing animal control, we've had, I think, 2 bats pop up positive and 1 skunk.
Okay.
So. We were able to replace an old AC unit in the dog adoption area. We actually have a new AC unit in there, AC and heat. Our dog quarantine area, we also replaced a new unit in there. That was part of our capital outlay budget for fiscal year 2023. We purchased new handheld radios for staff to better communicate. That was also included in our capital outlay budget 2022-2023. Our long-term objectives, I'd like to relocate and construct a new or expanded animal shelter to house animals longer, therefore provide more opportunities for adoption and animals being returned to their owners. A new location that is in high visibility area will help bring animal services into the public eye. Will also better serve the needs of our animals and our community. Our number one complaint right now from people that we get is the current location of the shelter. They say it's a lot harder to find back in an industrial area. We still run into citizens that have lived here over 20 years and don't even realize that we have an animal control or an animal shelter. Implement a trap neuter return program for feral cats once we get a bigger facility. Add a veterinarian to our staff or a contract vet to treat the sick and injured animals in hopes that we'll lower our budget costs. Currently, we're having to take the animals to either VCA, Summerfields, Boat Club Road, or Veterinary Emergency Group. And then we're paying those prices that they have set for medical costs. Our low-cost spay and neuters and vaccinations are done through TCAP, and we also work with Texas Foundation for Animals, which is a low-cost heartworm heartworm treatment group.
What do we spend per year on this versus what would it cost to have could you even have a part-time vet or a full-time vet?
I'd have to look in those costs. I haven't actually looked those up yet to see what the contract vets charge. Currently currently with the dogs, if we take a dog to TCAP, they do it by the weight of the animal. So a sterilization for a male dog under 50 pounds is $55. If they're 55 pounds and over, or 55 to 80 pounds, it's $65. Rabies shot's $5. On male cats, it's $35, and female cats, it's $45. Plus a rabies shot.
And what's TCAP, by the way?
Texas Coalition for Animal Protection is a low-cost spay and neuter clinic over in Alliance. They have multiple locations throughout DFW. They have one in Alliance that we go to. They have one in Haltom. and I believe they have one in Azle and one in Burleson.
Don't they have a pickup somewhere in Fort Worth?
I know they do vaccination clinics, but I don't know about them going out and actually picking up animals.
I thought there was a place that you could drop them in a grocery store, grocery parking lot or something every once in a while.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'll ask the lady I talked to.
The total animal services budget this year was $545,000 for the total of the whole
Yeah.
department.
I was just looking for what we're paying for animals we're having to send over to the vet.
So our spay and neuter animals that we send to TCAP, that actually comes out of a donation account that we had set up for animal low-cost spay and neuter. So anytime we do an adoption, that fee that we pay for the medical is actually reimbursed at the time of adoption. We collect that fee back. The only time we don't do that is when we're running a special, like right now, we're doing a $50 adoption special. So $50, depending on the size of the animal, will cover the cost for sterilization if it's a smaller dog, or somewhat cover the cost.
How would then, this year, you said to add a vet would lower the cost?
So say for instance, we just had a dog that came up that was pregnant, wound up giving birth to puppies in the shelter. She started giving birth to the puppies on Thursday. We had thought she was done having the puppies Thursday night. We had a shelter tech come in on Sunday, and she had wound up giving birth to 3 more puppies.
Okay.
So we actually had to take that dog into the vet to make sure she was completely done having pups, and make sure there wasn't any that were actually stuck in the birth canal causing an issue. So that was a pretty expensive, that wasn't a cheap visit. We've had one dog that was actually, I went out on an animal cruelty call. After hours, that dog came in. Within 24 hours, it started showing signs of parvo. One of our shelter techs worked out a deal with Veterinary Emergency Group, and they capped it out at $2,000 to have that animal treated. A lot of that money was raised through donations from citizens. The total bill before they capped it was $16,000.
Just out of curiosity, do none of the vets right here in Saginaw, do they not participate, or have y'all talked to them about?
Some of them offer us discounts, but only on certain things. They can't give us discounts on everything. So, you know, certain deals like medication and stuff, they can give us a discount on. X-rays, they usually try to give us a discount on X-rays, or ultrasounds, like for puppies and stuff, or on adult dogs that are pregnant.
So again, that one you said it was through donation, so that didn't cost the city any.
Not unless we're doing like an adoption special, we had to lower the cost to try to get the animals out. So,
Is there not a college around here that has like veterinary training or something? They're gonna be a vet?
I know Holenstein Center through the school has a vet tech program. I don't know about the college over here. I can definitely do some looking into that and seeing if we have some.
Cause there might could be some interns, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That could come and save some money and help y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd like to work with our community to increase the volunteer program. Our numbers, like I said, we have volunteers that come in, or they fill out their application to come in, they go through the whole process and then just never show up. Like to increase, further down the road, like to increase staffing by 1 full-time animal services technician, 1 full-time ACO position, while keeping our part-time positions to improve customer services, the animals experience, providing staff flexibility, and improve the operations to a fast-growing community. So with the number of staff we have right now, I'm ACO certified. I'm also licensed code compliance officer in the state of Texas. I hold basic, advanced, and administrative. Officer Farley, she is basic and advanced certified, and then Taylor, she just started out, so she's basic certified. I've also got Kelly cross-trained as an animal control officer in case we need help with on-calls, and he's currently basic and advanced certified also. I like to consider replacing the front desk and lobby furniture, and replacement of 1 animal services vehicle, which is our oldest one in the fleet, which is a 2013 F-150.
So what's our, I mean, I'm assuming that vehicle there would probably follow the same standard as we do with all of our, say, public works vehicles, right? When it gets to a certain mileage or year, we automatically swap it out. Is that correct?
I've had two new vehicles in our fleet the whole time I've been here. When I first started out with animal control, I was driving an old F-250 pickup truck. When the animal control officer came back from Iraq, I got moved into a Ford Ranger with a dog kennel in the back, and that actually was I think it was the fire marshal's truck prior to that. All my gear was back in the back of the pickup truck, exposed to the elements, so you can imagine how that wound up going. We replaced we got a Dodge pickup truck, which actually was the same vehicle that the building official at the time was driving. They replaced the vehicle in the building department and gave us the Dodge Ram. The truck that replaced that one is the one that I'm currently driving right now. The Dodge had an issue with water getting into the oil, and it had a lot of electrical issues. So we wound up replacing that one last year and got the vehicle, or back in 2021, I believe. And that's the one that I'm actually driving right now.
So what year is it?
It was a 2021.
Oh, so you got a 2021, that's.
Correct.
Okay, that's not too old then. How many miles it got on it?
Currently 14,000.
That's pretty new. Is that the one you're wanting to replace?
No,
Oh,
2013 F-150.
Oh, okay.
That's the oldest one we have in the fleet currently. The one I was driving prior to that, Brianna Farley's actually driving right now. And I don't know exactly how many miles are on that one.
So how many vehicles total we got?
We have 3 animal control trucks.
So why aren't we following on these vehicles? I'm just asking, the standard of like we do with public works, because.
During the budget process, the departments request replacement vehicles, and then we work with fleet maintenance and use their recommendation.
Right, okay, so I guess I'm kind of confused.
We stretch these things out as long as we can. I mean, the library and the animal services get the leftovers, unfortunately. I've rented some very old library cars, and we drive them until the wheels fall off, pretty much. So we're trying to save money, so we can't replace everything when it hits X number of miles.
Correct.
We just can't.
Hold on, with public, I've had us come up here in other departments and say, we need to swap this vehicle out because the maintenance is more expensive than getting a new one, and this should follow the same. I mean, if it's true, and I'm assuming it's all true, then these should follow the same pattern as those, that the maintenance is probably.
The mechanic, our chief mechanic, has a sheet that end of life for the vehicles is either 10 years or 100,000 miles.
Okay.
So,
Are any of these meeting that expectation? 10 years or 100,000 miles?
I believe the 2013 is probably going to be at the 10-year mark.
Okay.
So we do a lot, you're doing animal control for Blue Mound. Is what they're paying us covering the nut to do this, or do we need to increase what we're charging Blue Mound?
Blue Mound's currently paying $1,500 a year, and they don't touch what we deal with over here. We're over there twice a day, sometimes we're not over there unless we get a call. Okay, because currently right now, like I said, I've got 2 ACOs that are in the shelter Health and Clean. That means I'm out patrolling both Saginaw and Blue Mound. Okay, Taylor, she spent more time in the shelter since she's been an animal control officer than she has in the field, so she rides along with me a majority of the time for training purposes to make sure that she's well trained before she hits the road by herself. Occasionally, if I'm busy, she will go out in the field by herself and patrol. And if she has any questions or needs assistance, she can call us on the radio, and we're
So the $1,500 a year we're getting from Blue Mound, does it cover what we're doing in Blue Mound, or do we need to raise that?
I would say yes right now.
Okay.
Other questions for Jose?
I did have one question. When you used to do the 8-to-2 thing, could we not do those occasionally and make it like a fundraiser type thing? Where maybe maybe we could get some volunteers to help do paperwork for you, sit there at the desk or whatever while y'all.
Are you talking about 8 to 2 for the vaccination clinics?
Yeah.
That was a totally different vet that was doing that back in the day. That was Operation Vaccination.
But do we have we don't have anything comparable to that to raise the money to have a fundraiser for y'all?
Not right
The
now.
library has a bake sale and all these other things. Why can't the dog shelter do something like that?
So our volunteer, or not our volunteer, but our advisory committee has been making, or has come up with some recommendations. We just haven't brought them in front of the council yet as far as donation or fundraiser events. Some of those have been suggested, like doing the bricks down at the dog park for Memorial Bricks. Somebody had or one of the board members had suggested somebody could sponsor one of the dog yards down there and just have a banner put up, you know, and that banner's good for the year. For, you know, they pay, say, $250 to sponsor that park, and they get a banner put up in the back with their, you know, name or something on it. And then somebody, I believe, suggested doing T-shirt sales to try and do donations for that.
I know a lot of people like me, my dog would catch on my kids, you know, but yeah, so I don't understand why we don't do something like that to help y'all with some funds.
Well, I know the 501c3 program has a donation tab on our, is it on our Facebook page or is it on the city website? On our city website where people can actually go in and donate on our city website. And then we also get the donations from the water bills every month too.
I just think we should do a fundraiser or something for y'all. Talk to Linda Julian or something about cooking dog cookies or something, you know.
We've had Eagle Mountain reach out to us a couple of times about doing calendar pictures with the dogs.
Yeah.
And it's always fallen through the cracks. It hasn't ever come to fruition.
At some point, I'd like to see us recognize Brock, the kid that's been baking cookies and doing everything for the animal shelter.
The last vaccination clinic we had, Brock was actually invited to the vaccination clinic to sell cookies. We wanted to include him down there with our training grain tent that we had last year, and we were told we couldn't do that because of food permit requirements.
But the kid works really hard, his heart's in it, and I think.
He does.
I think as a council, we should recognize him at some point.
He's also doing is it Brock's Pet of the Week or Brock's Pet of the Month? Brock's Pet of the Month, where he actually comes out to the shelter and picks a dog that's been there the longest and does a little TikTok or
Yeah, I've seen it.
a Facebook video. His grandmother will film it while he's doing a little speech about the dog, trying to get him adopted out.
Has it worked?
So we currently have 18 dogs right now at our facility that we're trying to get out to rescue as of yesterday to try to make room. We just had the mama dog who's had 6 live pups, so she's currently taking a kennel in our dog quarantine area with her puppies. We've reached out to rescue, try to get her out. We haven't had any bites on getting her out. So we're trying to do our last ditch effort to get animals out before we have to start euthanizing.
Well, we need to think of something to do.
Any other questions for Jose?
Mayor, this would be a good time just to give you a brief update. You know, council, of course, approved a needs assessment for a new shelter with a consultant firm called Animal Arts, and that draft report is completed. And as soon as I can get them scheduled to come present to the council, hopefully June or July, then you'll be able to take a look at their final report.
Great. Thanks, sir.
You're
Appreciate it. Appreciate all the info. Great work, guys. Appreciate all y'all's hard work.
Fundraiser.
We can hold it at your daycare.
I don't care. I got feral cats with a few more dogs.
There you go. All right, item number 17, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551078, building improvement grant applications at, what time is it? 8:21. We are 8:34. We're back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
You get that? You get that, Janice? Valerie made the motion. Cindy, second. All's in favor?
We did.
At
Good job.
8:34. We're out of here. Thank y'all.